Cheers for the A scale. Here we're talking about a new hand position, A position. In order to make it sound the same way as your C position, you'll need to use a C sharp. It's similar to the D position, if you remember. We did the D before, so now we're going to do the A. So you will need to use C sharp in this scale in order to maintain the spaces between the notes. Remember we studied our C scale. Let's do this C scale. So the distance between our notes, it's a whole step between the first two notes. A whole step because you have half step plus a half step creates a whole step. So we have a whole step here, a whole step here, half step between E and F, between third and fourth note, and then another whole step. So the pattern is whole, whole, half, whole. Okay. Now let's go back to our A position. We need to do the same thing. We need two whole steps, a half step, and another whole step. So a whole step here. Now the next two notes must create another whole step. How do we do that? If we use a C natural, we're going to have a half step. We need a whole step. So that's why we need to move our C higher using a sharp, and then you can have your whole step here. Okay, so whole, whole. Then you will need a half step. So you don't need any more sharps here. You'll just go back to the white key here because you do need a half step. Between C sharp and D, it's a half step. And between D and E, it's another whole step. So whole, whole, half, whole. It sounds major, okay? If I don't do the sharp, it will sound minor, okay? It has its own pattern. So this is what you are studying on this page. You're talking about two whole steps, a half step, and another whole step. So that's why you need to remember to use a sharp right here. And then here they try to be very clear about their marking. So you can see the W represents a whole step, letter H represents a half step. And then they use a bracket here as well. So you can that square bracket like that for the whole step and a little bit pointed one like that for the half step. So what you will need to do, you'll just need to copy it here. Let's do it a little bit, okay? So for each staff, complete the letter names for the A 5-finger scale on the blanks. Next, write the missing whole notes on the staff. So, first we will just write the names of the notes. Again, we're just copying them up from the top. A, B, C sharp. Notice that we, when we put the letter names, we put sharps after the letter itself. Sort of like the way we say A, B, C sharp, right? We say sharp after the C. Then we'll put D, and there's E, okay? And then we'll just need to write them down. So we have the A. I'll put the B in here. Now C sharp. In music, we usually mark the sharp before the note. So it's a little bit could be confusing a little bit. But after a while, you'll get used to that. So, and then just fill the rest of the notes. All right. And then I'm going to jump a little bit ahead here. And the second task, for each scale above, mark the whole steps with a bracket and half steps with a wedge. See the top of the page. So do kind of the same thing. We're going to use the bracket here. It's a whole step. It's another whole step, right? Then I'm going to put a wedge here, and then there's another whole step. If you want, you can actually go ahead and mark W, W, H, and W here, just to make it look the same way. All right, well, let's do maybe a couple of more. So let's do this one. Again, on top, we'll start with marking the letter names. So we have a C sharp written here. Oops, my pencil just broke. Okay. Okay, so I did the first task. Now we will do the second task. We actually have to draw the notes. So let's start with an A. And you can look up here if you're still not sure about the notes, but it's a good idea to kind of learn your notes. Then you have a C sharp already here, so we'll just continue. We'll put in D and E, and then we'll do now the second task. I'll mark the brackets here, wedge and the bracket, and I just like to be precise here, so I'm just going to copy the W and H here as well. Okay, one more. Well, which one should we pick? Let's pick one with a bass clef. I'm going to pick the last one. Okay, so again, you sort of have some of the notes written here, so you just need to fill in the blanks. So we have A, B, C sharp, D, and E, and then I'm going to write the notes name. So we will start with an A. So where does our A go? Right here. That's our B in the bass clef, C sharp, and then D. Okay, and then I'm going to put the brackets, edge, and the bracket, and then I'm going to mark my whole and half steps. Okay, done. Happy practicing.